Hey, GED students, let's take a look at this example. It says translate the phrase into an equation, then solve your equation. Now we have this little sentence here. There is a number t, which when cubed equals -8 over 125. Now, I love this problem. Reason why it's in the advanced level practice is because we are hitting 3 GED problems at once. That's right. I crammed them all into one, but don't worry, we can do this. So first thing it asks us to do is to translate the phrase into an equation. Maybe I should have said the sentence, but there it is. It is partially here in our language of symbols and numbers, but it's partially in words. And so let's translate this entire thing into the language of algebra. So way easier than it sounds, guys. And this is a GED skill. So there is a number T. Okay, a number T. You say, that's not a number, that's a letter K. It's standing for a number that I don't know what it is yet. So I'll just call it T. So little mystery T there, which when cubed, okay, I'm doing something with T. It's not just all by itself right now. It's being cubed. Do you know what that means? That means being raised to the third power. So there is a number T, which when cubed equals, well, that's easy, equals -8 over 125. Skill number 1, check. We can translate a phrase in English or a sentence in English into the language of algebra. Wonderful. Next thing it asks us to do is then solve your equation. What does it mean to solve an equation? It means to figure out what T is. Mathematically, when we say is, we mean equals. So what T is equal to. I want to get T by itself so that I can know what it is equal to. Now, a lot of students would say to me right now, Kate, T is by itself. And I would say, no, it's not. Take a look. We have this little cube we need to get rid of. Well, and then a lot of students also forget how to get rid of cube. Remember, we always use opposites. So what's the opposite of a power? The opposite of a power is its root or radical. So I'm going to make this little check mark root. But careful, don't just leave it right there. Just like that, that says square root. Square root is not the opposite of cubing. The opposite of cubing is cube root. Tuck a little 3 into that check mark, and now the cube will cancel out because now I'm using inverses. Okay, now you say, can I do that, Kate? Can I really just, like do whatever I want to on that side? And I say, yeah, you sure can, as long as you respect that rule to keep the left-hand side and the right-hand side equal. So I'm going to come across the equal sign. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. I'm going to take the cube root of it, and then I've respected my equality, my balance there. And so it is a legit move on my part. So cube and cube root are opposites. They cancel. Don't panic about the nasty looking stuff on the other side there on that left-hand side. T is alone now if I got rid of that cube and that cube root. And it's going to be equal to what? This. Now, this is another reason I wanted to do this particular example, because solving equations is a second skill in the GED, but dealing with radicals, roots of fractions, and then cube roots of negative numbers, that also comes up on the non-calculator section. So I'm going to show you this 2 ways. I'm going to show you how to do it in your calculator, which is how we would do it if we solve this exact problem on the GED. But I'm also going to show you how to do it without a calculator, because that's how we'd end up doing it if we saw just the part I have circled on the non-calculator section. So let's do it in our calculator first. Let's start out nice and easy. To do that, you're going to need to type in the number 3. First thing, so I type in 3. Clear, 3. Okay, and now I need the xth root, not the regular square root one, but the one that has a little x in front of the square root symbol. So you're going to see that's written in green over the caret button. And so anytime you want something in green, you have to hit second. So I'm going to hit second. That's the green button up at the top left. And then I can hit that little caret button that has the xth root over it. Xth root. And then once you've done that, be careful not to use the minus to hit that negative, you want to use the actual negative button, which is down on the bottom in parentheses by enter. So negative. And now I want to do a fraction. Oh, this is a complex one. So I'm going to type the fraction bar. To get the fraction bar, you hit the N over D button. Now, warning, I just saw somebody on Facebook like this the other day. If your fraction bar comes out like this instead of like this, you're in the wrong mode. Go switch to math print mode. But I'm always in math print mode. So I'm going to type 8 on the top, and I'm going to type 125 on the bottom, press enter, and I get negative 2/5. And this is solved. It is done because T is alone. So boom, now I said we've done 2 of those skills. We've translated into an equation. We've solved an equation. Those are 2 big GED skills. But like I said, they love radicals, combined with negatives or combined with fractions on the GED. So let's go take a look at how we would have done that by hand. Now, as I always say, you know, the non-calculator section, you can totally bomb and still pass your GED. So you can turn off the video now if you want to. But for those of you who want the best score, you can get, this one is not as hard as it looks. So let's take a look. It says, take the cube root of negative 8 over 125. So I would just remind you that when you're dealing with fractions, because exponents and their roots are kind of a shortcut way to talk about multiplication, we can use the rules of multiplying fractions, which are way easier than adding, subtracting, okay? So let me show you what I mean. So this says the cube root of all this jazz. So what I'm really asking you is what number, if I took it and multiplied it by itself, let me put a time sign instead of a dot, would give me negative 8 over 125. Well, I bet most of us would guess it probably needs to be a negative number. Okay, so some negative number, if I multiply it by itself 3 times, will give me 8 over 125. And you might say, well, how am I supposed to know what? Well, remember when you multiply fractions, not like adding and subtracting, okay? But when you multiply, you just multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So we can look at the numerator and the denominator of this fraction separately. We can ask ourselves, what number multiplied by itself 3 times gives me 8? Well, that's one of the perfect cubes. It'd be really nice for you to have memorized. But 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the 3rd power, is equal to 8. 2 times 2 times 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. And so what would the top of the fraction need to be? It would need to be negative 2. Because negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 would give me negative 8. Good. Now I just need to think about the bottom. 125. What number multiplied by itself 3 times would give me 125? Well, that's 5. Again, I like having the first 5 or 6 perfect cubes memorized. It's helpful, but not necessary because you can guess and check. But 5 times 5 is 25. And if I had 5 25s, I'd have 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. And so what number would need to be on the bottom? 5. Now, careful, don't put another minus down there, okay, you guys, or we're going to start having some cancellation. But we know when we multiply, 2 negatives cancel, but there's 3 negatives here. And so this answer here would be negative 8 over 125. So you can do it without your calculator too. What number, when cubed, equals negative 8 over 125? That would be negative 2 over 5. Ooh, tricky, 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 you guys. Tracking with me for some hard stuff. Super proud of you.